right, well, should we get to it?
Yeah, ready? Yeah.
We are tWoTcast, episode 274.
All right, everyone, shut the f*** up.
Wheel of Time. Reread podcast. Explicit and R freaking rated. Jono's the wild card, always talking shit. Joe's the straight man. He's a total dick. Tom calls in if he's not too busy. We are tWoTcast!
You're listening to tWoTcast, the Wheel of Time reread podcast, now covering Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, Book 2, The Great Hunt. I'm Jono, and with me as always is Joe.
Hey, Jono. Hey, man.
Briefly concerned about the always because he didn't respond quickly enough. And frequently, but actually quite frequently, Tom.
Dear math, guys.
And we have a guest whose name is, of course, the one, the only, unless there are, in fact, more than one, but only one on this show, Matt Hatch.
Hey, thank you. Welcome.
Welcome myself to the show.
Thank you, Matt.
Matt's so used to hosting a show, he's like, welcome to the show, me.
And his title is Innkeeper, and therefore he's welcoming us to our own inn. How much more homely can you get than that?
Exactly. Welcome to tWoTcast.
Welcome yourself to the show.
No one has ever said that. Yeah. So, Matt, tell us about yourself.
What?
Out of time. Next topic. Yeah. Sorry.
Out of time.
I'll be honest. That's about as much as you really want to know, right?
Matt, we've known each other for many years, many years, but not well though, right? You know, like you're usually busy, and you're running around doing stuff, and then we're getting drunk and doing our podcast.
Yeah, we cross like hallway paths.
Yes.
And every once in a while I jump in because I have to be like, I've never heard a live episode of this, so I'm just so excited to be here because I've never been part of the magic that is tWoTcast. So, but yes, I'm often in some other panel and then staying up till 4 o'clock talking about like metaphysics of the Wheel of Time. And we don't know each other as well as we should. So thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Yeah, we have time.
Is it Matt?
See, that's my job because I host this show.
I got to be honest. I thought of our little communities would slowly drift apart once the last book came out, and that has just been the exact opposite case. So we have like the next 20 years to get to know each other at least.
I give that credit to JordanCon for sure. Matt,
are you always playing poker at JordanCon?
There's that too. And that,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure the poker thing is one of the main reasons we've never like had you in the show or something like that. I'm serious. Like I think it goes on to the same night. Every time we're doing a live show, it's like you're playing poker from like 6 p.m. to like 7 in the morning or something.
Yeah,
the story goes like this. I won the first year.
Yeah.
But by the way, the first year they had the best gift. It was like a leather bound book, signed by Robert Jordan was your gift. Every year after that, it's like a plastic reward, like a trophy or something. I don't know. so I walked away with this excellent book as my prize. And then every year after that, they cross schedule a panel that I'm running against the poker tournament. So I've always took it personally. Like there's a reason why they just don't want me to win again.
I think
maybe I won one more time, but I'm running a panel and then I'm running the poker. That's why we don't our paths don't cross that first night very much.
Yeah,
you're not missing much with us. Don't worry about it. I will say this it's kind of funny to think about the fact that we've spent 10 JordanCons really. So technically 2 nights each. 20 days in the same hotel and barely know each other. Yeah, it's 3 weeks when you think about
the same events.
Me and Jono and our wives has a running joke about how many nights we've spent in the same room together.
Nice.
Because we always share rooms at JordanCon and DragonCon. So it's like we've been in the same
New Year
room together overnight for like 2 months.
Yeah, it's 2 months. Yeah. And that doesn't include randomly getting passed out at the same house. It's way different discussion.
That's true. It's different. It's a different scenario.
Yeah.
Nice.
Tom's fucked up though, and he hasn't been there in weeks of our month-long sojourn. Thanks, Tom.
want to point this out to your listeners, which is if you're ever scared that you would go to JordanCon and you have to talk to people, clearly you don't have to talk to people. People you see at JordanCon, you might see them there for like 10 years. You don't actually have to get to know them or talk to them at all. That's a good pitch, I think. Don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty decent pitch because a lot of people are pretty introverted that come to JordanCon and they're like, I'm scared. I don't want to talk to people. Like, you don't. You can slowly get to know them over 10 years, like we know Matt.
Exactly.
And not
I think it was
polite.
like, year 6 or 7, and I was like, I know that guy. I know his name.
Yeah.
And then next year 7, we're like, hello, for the first time.
I remember having a conversation with Jennifer Liang, and she actually told us that one of the pitches for JordanCon, like a selling point, was the fact that you don't actually have to know us. And we found that, it's like, no, you don't have to know tWoTcast. You won't see them very often.
Yeah, you won't.
Yeah, it's not a problem. And like that, I think heartwarming, and it was good to know that was on the kind of like the selling. I think that was on the brochure.
Jordan has a brochure.
When Alan started hanging on your show, I was like, these guys are something. So that's when that's when I.
Our love affair with Alan Romanchek is just
our good friends,
legendary.
I think you took the wrong conclusion. You should have thought less of Alan as opposed to more of us.
That's actually a solid point, Jono. Good job.
Yeah. I woke up.
Everyone just holds Alan up on a pedestal. What they don't realize is he is as bad as we are. Not worth knowing.
I woke up to an email from Alan last week that was about a German statue, which was made of wood that was shaped like a penis, having been randomly cut down in the middle of Bavaria, and like the police wanted to know who did it, and all it was reference to a weird gnome that he had brought on the show a few months ago, and to my penis just saying, "How is it feeling this morning?" And I was just like,
"Yeah." See, that's
nice.
I don't think you get to know Alan if you haven't gotten to know tWoTcast. I think they have to be known together. I think that's.
I mean that's very possible. That might be a thing. I don't know if he'd enjoy that thought.
No, he'd be disappointed. It's like kind of talk about a career trajectory, real far up, and then all of a sudden, real slingshot down. It's not really going well.
All right, let's get the fuck into the show. What are we doing?
Yeah. All right. So we will be, of course, discussing the end of this book. By the way, quick spoiler warning: we're going to talk about shit that happens during, before, after, and sometimes not even related to not only book 2, but the entire series. This is our episode covering The Great Hunt, written by Robert Jordan. We'll be covering part 14, chapters 45 through 50, which is, of course, the end. And maybe, depending on how excited Matt Hatch is, we will be discussing perhaps some parts of the maybe the appendix, if you're interested.
Oh, wow.
The glossary? Oh, you want to talk about glossary entries?
We're not doing that.
Oh, we're not.
We're digging in. I like it.
We haven't done it in 10 years, and we're not going to start now.
You know what's funny, though? This guest, Matt, would probably be the one who would actually want to cover glossary entries.
That's possible. That's true.
I've always loved the glossary entries between books 1, 2, and 3, how much they changed the definitions of like Matt, Perrin, and Rand. Like they really are just kind of like pretty much like 3 chapters in almost like is where they kind of just cut off for how far you should know about this character. Like he's a farmer from the Two Rivers, maybe tWoTcast, definitely tWoTcast, maybe the Dragon Reborn. Like just kind of changes each time. But none of these dickheads ever want to talk about that. So
yeah,
we'll just talk about chapter 25 to start.
Okay, 25. Let's work our way up to 45 first. You gotta slowly get there.
Book
like,
2.
Whoa.
Yeah. Did we not tell you that we're going to do half the book in 2 hours?
Let's do it.
Chapter 45 is called Blade Master, and it's a Ninyabe chapter, followed by Domon Perspective and Rand Alcor. Wrapping up the
end. Recap here.
Okay, go.
We got Nynaeve and Elaine kidnap and gag a woman. Bail Doman is waiting on his boat. The gang has the easiest break-in of all time. Rand kills Turok Dinosaur Hunter, and they escape with the horn.
I mean,
yeah,
fantastic.
That is good. I like the Bail Doman moment in that summary. It's really good.
Yeah, I just noticed in every chat, like he was in the book before. He's waiting in all these chapters as it's building to a crescendo, and then ultimately no one gets on the boat and he just sails away. Why do we need this?
He's like waiting for someone to kill him. He's waiting for people to jump in his boat. He's always waiting for someone to take his boat. He's waiting for it's always that's a good point. That's a fair point about him.
3 chapters in a row. This book has been insane.
It's like, here's what's going on with the knave. Here's the queen. Here's Rand. Here's the White Cloaks. Here's Bale. And then eventually Bale's just like, I just left. Like, he has no moment.
I want to call out the one part of this chapter that still bothers me to this day.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It has to be that the Rand tWoRok moment and Rand defeating him. I'm not sure I can handle. Or
you don't buy it, huh?
It's just.
It's a hard pill to swallow, and I've read the whole series as many times as you have, probably. So I understand what you're talking about.
It wasn't like I read book 1, and I think book 2 had just come out or was coming out, and then I read book 2. Great moment. But at book 14, when he already defeated a Blade Master in book 2, you're like, I feel like he kind of peaked there for a moment. Yeah. And then it was like a lot of malaise of Rand before we get to the end. So I don't know. This defeating tWoRok is it's a bit much.
Well, maybe it's tWoRok actually says, like, isn't it weird how, he's briefly disappointed in how shitty Rand is with the sword. Maybe
Rand's avoiding using the void at that point.
But yeah, maybe it's the other way around. As soon as Rand assumes the void, all of a sudden we find out that all Blade Masters on the other side of the continent are Shanshan. They're actually a trash continent of sword users. Considering
that's a good point.
What's he got with his fingernails? They're all like Rand's sword wasn't held back. Maybe he was.
I wrote that Rand tells tWoRok that he's not actually left-handed, and then he switches hands and starts fighting.
Shit!
It is possible that the best Blade Master in Shanshan on this side of the world would be ranked like 200,600.
That is true. That is possible.
How do we know?
It is possible. I doubt it's the case somehow.
Like the Empress names like her 5-year-old son the Blade Master, and it's like, in order to get the title of Blade Master, you have to beat him in a fight. And they're like, well, this is easy.
Not that him. All right, so
if
this
I kill him, they'll hang me on a wall in a sack. So
yeah, this doesn't address the fact that he peaked necessarily as a Blade Master, as Matt was saying, but the believability of the fight. Maybe is he tapping into Lews Therin memory? Like, is that a thing?
I mean, technically
possible. I mean, he definitely says a few things that are like, I kind of feel like I know where this is, or stuff like that, like throughout this last couple chapters, like in terms of the one power and what's happening to him. And I don't remember. There's a specific moment where he's like, I feel like I should know. I know this, and I don't know why I know this, kind of thing, or something like that. Oh, I think it's the Heroes of the Horn. There's a couple hundred heroes. There's 100 Heroes of the Horn, and he's like, I know that there's 100. I don't know why I know that, but I know that, kind of thing. So maybe he's like tapping into memory.
Is Shamiel a Blade Master? Does he beat 2 Blade Masters in the span of 5 chapters?
Oh, that's an excellent question, because I don't know that. He must be. Yeah.
Maybe this is just evidence that Lan is the greatest teacher in the history of the world.
What is his name? Elon Moradry?
Elon Moradry.
Yeah, that's it.
We said spoilers, right?
Yeah. But he says...
Well, you've asked like 8 questions.
He talks about being a Blade Master and the equivalent of Lews Therin at the end of the series when they're fighting in the cave, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the problem. You're jumping to the Shamiel fight, which is the other problem with the fact that he beats tWoRok. Like it stops being fun that he just goes up against Blade Masters and apparently he can defeat them. Although, I mean, calling it like defeating a Shamiel in this regard, I guess he does, but he's like, it's that whole like, Danielson moment, where he gets the little, whatever crane kick and takes out the person that actually is better, but he just happens to, trick him basically into losing.
With an illegal move.
Exactly. I think it's fair to kind of say that, that Rand is definitely the Karate Kid of this, at least the Great Hunt. And so there's kind of a little bit like that with tWoRok. I mean, yes, can you say that he pulled some memories and, is it the pattern, is the wheel, and he's the dragon soul, and so of course he should win. But, again, it was I like the idea that Turok is really just kind of somebody that recognizes talent and used to be talented, but his fingernails really get in the way
it's just getting in the way.
And it's just decorative.
God damn it.
I like that telling is that I can accept that. I can accept that he just let his skills go soft. He's just used to beating people at this point. He's used to people just always losing to him because he's a Shanshan lord here basically, and people are afraid.
Well, the only way that people can fight him unless they're a High Lord also, they have to look at the floor, so it's really hard for them to win.
Exactly. So I can accept that premise.
Why is he looking up?
It just bothers me. Like Blade Rand kills Blade Master, book 2. Okay, well, we should get to the end at this point,
Turok learned real quickly not to fight on mirrored floors because it ends up that was the only advantage. Jesus.
It does seem like a steep learning curve for Rand to kill a Blade Master by the end of the book 2. Like he's training with Land in the beginning, and Matt, one of the things I do is I listen to our old episode to make sure we're not repeating ourselves like idiots.
Which we do.
We've done this once before, but so 10 years ago we did mention that, but it's like one of the things we said was like, which is worth mentioning, I suppose, is that Land said something along the lines of like, "Hey, you're not bad. You can kind of hold your own," which from Land is like, you can murder 17 people probably without trying. So I think I like, maybe it's just like from our perspective as a reader, you're like, well, Land said he's okay. Is he Blade Master okay? But like when Land says something like you're okay, he's saying, holy fuck, you're actually holding your own against me for like 1 second. That was fucking impressive. On the scale of where Land is as a sword fighter, I think is the key.
I mean, I took karate for a couple of years, and it doesn't matter. You think you're never. I don't care how much training Land did in a month or two or whatever it was. There was no bringing him up to Blade Master level. So
it's nowhere near. It's not even a month or two. It's like a couple of weeks.
It has to be explained, and I hate the wheel explains everything. So I love that Turok was just like, he was drunk, his nails were too long, and he was.
Yeah, I like that. I buy that.
I buy that.
And then I buy that. And then I buy the fact that the only reason he beat Ishmael is because he was kind of going a little crazy since he got his taint cord cut in the last book. And then
that will make.
And then on top of that, Rand's just like, here's my stomach. Stab me in it if you want. I'm fine.
In fairness, I mean, look, to Ishmael's point, guess what happens? And again, we're in the wrong fucking chapter here. He died. He again.
Oh, we are in the wrong chapter.
Yeah.
We're just
why not just stab you in the stomach, because you're not going to die here. One of the things that I love about this whole book, I guess, backing up the entire fucking way, is that this is such a hugely monumental thing for the entire series, and at the same time it feels almost overlooked to let you go on a few books, but like this really fucking takes care of the Shanshan for a couple books, right? You don't see them for the entirety of book 3. Are they in book 4? I think they're just arriving at the end of book 4.
Yeah, I think so.
It really kicks to the curb a massive group of characters as a nation, and like it really is like where Rand declares himself. It's like the orgasm of this entire ending of the book is a fucking strong one. Like I really like it's probably one of my favorite endings for being not one of my favorite books, really.
Oh man, then I'm not going to introduce my idea. I think that was fantastic.
To your orgasm.
It's related to what basically how I think the TV show should handle this particular orgasm. Yes.
Oh, interesting. Well, go ahead. You can say your idea.
I'm all about reading about different orgasms. Like I'm fine as well as possible.
I don't know if we're supposed to jump ahead here all the way to the
Fair enough. Let's talk about this chapter a little bit more, and then we'll get there.
Yeah.
I think Tom's breakdown of what Nynaeve, Min, and Elaine are doing is just fine.
It's a pretty bold plan. We don't need to get into it, but it's really just hope that Nynaeve's right, kidnap someone and hope no one.
It is a bold plan, but I think there's little hints in the text that kind of indicate that Nynaeve has been. Oh, she when she talks about the stable they're in, the little shed stable they're in. Yeah. She's like, I watched it for a whole day to make sure no one was going. I mean, I think she's over planned it. I think it seems fast and loose. Like she's like, I guess we're just going to capture somebody and see what happens. I think they've planned this out a lot, is what I'm saying.
The Soul Dam they capture is Sita.
Yeah.
And forgotten who she was, and I had to quickly look it up because I know she goes to Abu Dar, but apparently she's the one who goes with Suroth, of course, to Abu Dar, eventually escapes with Matt, and then becomes she's the one who forces Matt or the Aes Sedai's hand to train her as an Aes Sedai. And so she's actually entered as a book as a novice. So this chick eventually comes full circle and wants to become an Aes Sedai. So
that is actually kind of crazy because you kind of lose sight of that at this moment.
It's a beautiful character arc.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful character arc. I think she's really forgotten. I think we talked a little bit too much about Rand and Nynaeve and Egwene and Sita.
I think it's easy to lose sight, not of the entire character, but like you kind of forget where they last were when you see them pop up again sometimes, when they're that.
Yeah, Jordan does that really well, right? He just introduces like all of these random characters, but they do actually come back into the story often, which I love. No, though, if you recognize, this is like the double heist section of the book.
Yeah.
The only problem I have with it is we just spent
Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 8.
Yeah, exactly. But it happens in like 3 chapters. Like we just had a journey from Faldara, like looking after like the Horn, and they went to Kyrian, and they went to the Mirror World, all these other things, and that stuff takes chapters upon chapters. And here's this moment where they're both like basically planning 2 extremely like
dangerous, crazy things.
The Shan-Chan, like they're supposed to like infiltrate and steal like the Aes Sedai who's been taken, Egwene here, and the Horn, and it happens in like 2 freaking chapters. I don't know what's happening.
I think it is crazy that it happened in 2 chapters.
I want it to be more satisfying, but maybe I would hate it if it took longer than this. You know what I mean?
It's hard to know. I think if it wasn't happening simultaneously, there's one specific thing, Rand seeing Egwene, which is a big note or a point that needs to happen like simultaneously. So she can't have been freed beforehand. And not too much later, obviously, because then everything's happening. But like,
fuck it all up.
His desire and need to go save her or like get her out of there, like to turn around and go back into the city is like pretty integral in terms of. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you could have just done it like he was cut off by the White Cloaks, and that's it. Like you could have just stopped it there.
It didn't have to be quite so like bizarrely this. Matt, I love your idea though of like. What would that like? Not only is there 2 heists, like you said, there's also the largest battle we've seen so far between humans. Let's not forget that. Plus, we're going to have the first usage of one of 2 or 3, really, of the Heroes of the Horn 2, just all thrown together for one giant fucking orgy of like, portent and all that at the end of a book. Like talk about just getting your dick on, which I don't think you did, but I did. But I said it. So
but we're talking 3 chapters. Like it's 3 chapters. All that stuff that happens.
Just going full nut. No wonder the beginning of book 3, like he's in his recovery period for a bit. Like Robert Jordan's got to have some type of protein, kind of get rehydrated. Like he's kind of shot his whole wad for a bit.
Well, 3 is boring in that regard, right? So,
that's true.
But there's that part that I think everyone loves about The Great Hunt is that it is at the very end you aren't belaboring. He's not belaboring anything, right? He's like, go in there, get Egwene, we got her. Get the Horn. Yeah, we just beat the Blade Master. We took that. Okay, blow the horn. Okay, get the heroes here. Get the White Cloaks. Kill them all.
It's almost like it's a climax of a book.
But it's
what? Honestly,
it's like to me, it's like that could have been 10 chapters.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah, easily.
It might mean if we were ever going to plan a heist in real life, we might not want Robert Jordan to plan it because his plan was just like, we'll put on different dresses and we'll climb in a window. And that's it. And it works.
Maybe we do want him to plan things. Like realistically, I think what Tom was not going to say, but I'll say it for him because he wasn't going to, is it reminds me of the second date, right? The first night you kind of had like an awkward bang and you're not sure if you're going to do it. So the second night you go over there and you're kind of like, well, like see where this is going. And then it ends up she's receptive. So you try to have sex like 5-6 times.
Matt, this is the part where me and Tom stop listening to Jono and you're trying to figure out what he's saying intently. And this is what you're supposed to not do. Like, me and Tom zoned out the second that started happening.
I shouldn't actually be trying
part
to
is
kind of
Tom is putting himself on mute. Tom puts himself on mute.
Weirdly, his points make sense, but you don't need to try. It's all right.
Okay.
We can skip the actual.
If you know the pitch of his voice, that means he's done. Then you can just give like a polite chuckle, and like then we can actually move on to something.
I'm just trying to teach you how to do this. I'm just trying to teach you, Matt.
Hey, John, Matt, did you read Warrior of the Altai?
I haven't read it yet. No.
Okay, well, it's not a spoiler or anything, but there's a part. Jonna, did you see the correlation between them riding in single, like as 5 people, but singly?
Yeah.
I was like, that's interesting.
And it works.
It's such a throwaway thing in this book. It's a much bigger deal in that book. But like, it's one of those things where I was like, interesting. He did the whole like, let's ride in one by one to make sure we're not noticed kind of thing.
But we ride in one by one when only 10 people entered, and we're half the people who entered, and wondered why people.
On that, Jono, last 10 years ago, you said it's 5 will ride forth, not 1 will ride forth every once in a while. I thought that was hilarious.
I was way smarter before I drank as often.
Yeah.
God damn it. Anyway, so they ride into town, like you said. Poor Huron smelling up and down. Just this rank city to him. Like
he smells layers of fame.
Yeah, that's not good.
That can't be good.
Oh yeah, fame
but eventually they come to the obvious. Well, there are lords there, and it smells awful. Somehow these brilliant tacticians have again forgotten to guard their back door, and that's not even a euphemism. That is literally they just forgot to guard the garden.
It is a little, I mean, there is a guard back there. I think they're just used to the respect due a High Lord of Shanchan. I think it's very like, we're not used to being in a place where someone will actually have the audacity to jump over the fucking back wall and start sneaking around the house.
Does that get more?
Go ahead.
Sorry, Matt.
That seems like rational like that, because the Shanchan does seem to like have that like, you're gonna say the oath and then we can trust you or whatever until we can't trust you and then we can just kill you. But then again, don't you have like Shanchan, the ones who are like the royal family, and there's like so much assassination and stuff like that. Like it doesn't it doesn't seem like they're like not. They don't have court intrigue. And
that is definitely the other flip side of that coin.
So I feel like the idea that they're just like, yeah, the High Lord Turok, who needs to watch the back door? It's not like anyone cares about his position or, you know.
There was a guard.
Yeah. To your point, he's like 5th in line for the throne. And while that's still quite, it's clear that Tuon has the ear. Tuon was surviving assassination attempts extremely recently. So again, being 5th is not really that bad, and so you would think that there would be more impetus to guard yourself and to be smart.
Yeah,
maybe he thought his blade master skills would take care of things. And he was wrong about that.
That's a good point. That's excellent.
Maybe that's the same idea though. Like he was such a bad blade master, he became complacent in that. He became complacent in guarding his place. Fuck it. Yeah, just kind of like once you come in the back door.
I mean, we don't know him very specifically in terms of like what he was like in Shanchan. Maybe he was relatively confident that he didn't have to worry about assassins, and he wasn't really that worried with them.
Maybe loading up with a guard lowers your standing.
Maybe the fact that these individuals were able to break in and steal the horn goes to show you just how great of a blade master he was. This is the kind of dude that wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe he kind of had a reputation for murdering assassins while he was barely awake, and they came in, and he's just like, whatever, dead. And then he just also there is the part that like clearly he thinks Fane's about to break into steal the horn as well, because he like comes out and he's like, ha ha, oh, not who I expected. So like maybe he let it open or left no guards back there on purpose. I mean, it's very possible.
That he did seem to be setting a trap.
Yeah.
Home Alone
so maybe
style.
It was all just there was micro machines on the floors.
They would have gone over the garden wall and stepped on tar and nails if it was Home Alone style. They would have been like, this is easy, and then started screaming.
They started going up the stairs. Matt gets nailed by a paint can.
Yeah. Why the hell are his servants dressed like chickens?
I'd read that book.
It took the shoes off.
I mean, again, we're jumping ahead. Never mind. I'll say it later. I was like, I have a thing. I would read that too, but I don't. I will talk about it later. Anyway, we already kind of discussed the fight in great detail. Matt getting the dagger back is kind of awesome, especially when he cuts that guy and gives him really bad case of syphilis, like real fast.
Really fast.
Syphilis. You may want to think sex ed again or something, or talk about where you. That's not good.
More like black gonorrhea, Joe.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's it's just fucked up.
Does your body rot apart when you have syphilis? I thought it did.
I do love that part though, especially the first time I read it. That was terrifying.
Yeah,
it was.
I was just like, put that knife away. I wouldn't even want to like. What if you cut yourself by accident?
It's funny because afterwards, Rand kills Turok, and then he's like, oh, I just killed a man. Like I've killed Trollocs before, but that's like, I just killed a human. Like that's fucked up. And Matt's just like, la la la, slicing people with like a dagger, just running around like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, Perrin kills 2 people in book 1, and it tortures him for the next fucking 13 books.
Yeah, and then Rand even say, like, when Rand gets back down the stairs and Matt and Perrin are there, Perrin's like looking at Matt like, what the fuck? You know, like he just like, who knows how many other people he killed, kind of thing. And Perrin's just like, like Rand and Perrin have like this, like they both lock eyes and they're like, he just killed a lot of people. I don't know. It's pretty funny. They argue over Egwene, and then Rand crushes what's left of Ingtar's spirit, you know, and they move on.
Yeah. I do love the end of this, just because they're trying to figure out what the fuck to do. And like, you know, Ingtar is clearly very confused how much Egwene means to Rand, because, you know, Ingtar doesn't quite get the importance of humanity and friendship and all that right now necessarily. But at the end of it, just kind of like, we got to go. So Matt just tosses the fucking horn over the fence and just like, it's fine. Just blows on it like there's no problem. It is the most just like nonchalant FU attitude from him that just delights me. It does not.
Throwing the horn over the fence is my favorite part of this entire book.
You can hear Ingtar like, what the fuck?
It's also super funny when they get the horn. He's like, we got it. And they're just like, hey, idiot, we're sneaking around the house. Like, what are you doing? And then they get outside and he's like, all right, let's go.
That's just because he has the dagger back. Let's be honest. That dagger.
Yeah, that's true. He has a singular vision. He doesn't care about anything else.
Matt, anything else in that chapter?
No, nothing. I think we covered the most important part here, which was
far too much. Yeah, I said far too much actually.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, chapter 46.
Yeah,
to come out of the shadow.
That's when you're standing in his shadow, playing hide and masturbate. I think
that's right. All right, come out.
What happens?
It's more Nineveh, then more Beldomen, and then Bonehold, and then Rand.
Yeah, Nynaeve and Elaine free Egwene. Dale's still waiting, and then I just put Ingtar's sacrifice. I didn't get real interested with it. I was taking these notes while you guys were doing the introduction.
I enjoyed Matt Hatch. Matt's just sitting there laughing every time you just say Dale's still waiting.
I think this is my favorite part of this, which is I've never just realized just how much I've always loved that character, and he just doesn't do anything.
There's one integral part in this book where he decides to go west instead of east. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I
mean, he meets a Guinan. That's and he brings the seal to Turok. But other than that, like once that happens, sail away, and we'll see you next book.
Exactly. I think the biggest, to me, obviously the highlight of this chapter has to be the rescue here of Egwene. Like watching Egwene just go nuts is, I actually think it's one of the best parts of this book.
I fucking love that part
because it kind of sets her on a path for the rest of the series, and this is the moment, right? This is Egwene's big moment that with Rand kind of develops over the entire series, but for her, like this is it.
Yeah, her character pivots right here, and I think this is what sets her on a path of being a young Amirlan as opposed to just being an initiate of the Tower.
Well, and a lot of people give Egwene problems about like the way she treats people and after this and such. This tweaks her. She does not come out the same. This is not.
I think when you really like think about like the things that she went through over the course of the last few weeks or however long it's been, at least a couple of weeks, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's at least like 2 or 3 weeks. Anyway, but it's a long time. But it's. I mean, when Sita enters the room with Nynaeve and everyone, she's like, I want to boil her in a pot of water. And they're like, what the fuck? And I think it's Elaine who says like, holy shit. And she's like, you don't understand. That's what she did to me, literally. And you're like,
because he does not
no, I get it.
Tender enough, needs to be hydrated. It makes sense.
She has no problem with the idea she's going to kill her, right? Like she's ready to murder her, right? She's not. This is not using the one power to hurt people or using the one power to gain advantage. Not. I was going to say she sees it differently. She sees the one power. She sees her place in the world. She sees what she can do and what other people are doing with it, and she changes, I think. And then it has something to do with Fane's exposure to her too, which has affected her from the Great Hunt at the beginning anyway. But yeah, we get a different Egwene coming out of this book.
For
but
sure,
no one really gives too much credence to when they have Egwene angst after this.
I do have Egwene angst, not for this part. Later on in this chapter though, like once they're free, and instead of like running down a side street, she just like flips out and says, you're going to try to capture me, and just starts blowing shit up.
I don't have any problem with that. I mean, and I didn't 10 years ago, and you did too. So, I mean, we're at the same point we were 10 years ago, Jono.
I think she would have never learned to use the 3 forbidden curses effectively if she wasn't captured by the Shanshan. That's why she's ready to use Avada Kedavra on everybody.
Yeah. Well, this is her right here, crucioing.
She was freed 5 minutes ago, and I think her seeing the possibility of being taken again that quickly is enough for her to be like, nope, fuck you, and then that's it, like, and just rips the street apart. I don't think that was a bad reaction at all. I would absolutely have reacted that way.
Well, I will quote what Matt Hatch was going to say, because he wasn't, and he said, well, why doesn't she rationally, because she's a woman, and therefore tell Egwene and Nynaeve, hey, we should channel right fucking now. So this way there's 3 people versus 1, and we can lay waste left, right, and center versus just one at a time. Which, again, that would have been, in my mind, a little more...
Nynaeve doesn't know how to lay waste, and neither does Elaine, and Nynaeve can't really channel unless she's angry. And Egwene isn't trusting that they are going to rescue her from the army that is walking up the street. Yeah, I think her head's in the right place. That's all I'm saying. Even if it's irrational, which it is.
Because she's a woman.
She hasn't been around them, man. She doesn't know that, like, they know how to strike lightning out of the sky and shit. She doesn't know what Nynaeve learned when she was being captured. All she knows is what she's capable of. And there's this in front of her and what to do about it.
Yeah, she can't trust Nynaeve at this point. Like there's no trust at this point.
She's got a block.
She doesn't trust anybody. But she has trust. She's coming out of this thing with major trust issues. It doesn't matter if your friends saved you; you were still being tortured, and she's she's like minutes out of this, right? She doesn't feel safe at all. Yeah, minutes. So
I think that's the key. Like if it had been like a day, she might not have reacted like this. Like she might be like, oh, I've got a little space from it. I can kind of react less in the moment, but like it's been 5 fucking minutes. They walked out of the building, there was an army. Like I'd flip out. I'd be like, get the fuck away from me, and then run away. Like she does. So, I mean, the way she feels is the way I felt when I freed her, because he did such a good job of making it seem like so utterly hopeless that I'm glad she reacted the way she did. I was completely into it. Well, speaking about when they freed her, let's talk about Rena and smashing a vase into her stomach, because I loved it.
Or smash her face with an iron.
Let's do everything that they did to us. Oh my God, Egwene is Marvin Harry.
Marvin Harry, there you go. That's what that is. So, Matt, I think you're aware of the fact that Tom loves Home Alone, and we sometimes will let him go with that.
I'm now becoming aware of it. I like it.
I mean, it's December.
Well, it is December.
Only Tom loves Home Alone. The rest of us just quote it just to make Tom enjoy himself. It's 1 month a year.
Works really well with these chapters, that's for sure.
We can make it work with literally anything.
This is as Home Alone as the Wheel of Time gets, though. I think this is like there's just so many.
This is pretty close to I think so. I'm sure we'll find other ways later, Matt, and we'll let you know. It'll be book 6, and I'll be like, Matt, by the way, we found the actual Home Alone moment.
I feel like you should document this. I feel like there's a whole article here about Home Alone and the Wheel of Time. So
all right,
we're going to put it in the 13th depository.
Challenge accepted on Tom's behalf.
We'll get Linda to post it for you.
Yeah. So real quick, by the way, something that Linda might appreciate. one of the things that I've complained about since probably the second time I read book 1 was like there's this thing where, like, if you remember when Nynaeve comes to Baerlon, she remembers that she healed Egwene once from breakbone fever, and therefore knew exactly where to go. And I was like, well, where the fuck does that ever happen? Because it really doesn't. This may be the only place where there's a kind of like Nynaeve knows that it's Egwene before she even sees her face necessarily. It still doesn't suffice for me because you should technically still see that in the next dozen books or so. But I think this is the one case where you could kind of say maybe Nynaeve feels it's Egwene before she sees her. And because I've complained to Joe.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I like it.
Again, really suffice.
Following this, they don't spend a lot of time together. They do in the third book, I guess, but after that, they split apart and their cycles probably get unsynced, Jonah.
Thank you for that.
I like you guys feed them sometimes. It's good.
Yeah, every once in a while you gotta throw some chum in the water, man.
Actually, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing how this is working.
Yeah, I will make the dumbest jokes until someone gives me something to help. Because I can't set myself up.
So the essential part of this section is that they start a one power fight in the streets, and that's what kicks off everything else around them, including Bell Doman jerking erect.
Does it really say that?
Just yes, it does.
It does not say that.
Oh,
it does.
I don't know if have you ever never noticed that happens in this book, like the series
4 or 5 times,
1,000 times.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now.
People jerk erect a lot.
Yeah. It's the first line. Bail Durman jerked erect as lightning streaked across the slate sky.
I know. I'm just saying. I want to know how many times. Hold on.
How many times? Good.
This is important. This is important research here. Can you give me the? Is it jerked awake? Is that how it's spelled?
Erect.
Erect. Is there a dash there, or are we talking no dash?
No, it's no dash. It's just a jerk erect is 2 separate words.
Are you doing a PDF search for the entire series?
Sure. That's what I'm doing. It's not exactly what I'm doing, but it's very close. Let's see. I will tell us how many times this happens.
Emailing Harriet. She's got.
This happens. It does happen 7 times. Okay. Wow.
Wait, in this book or the whole series?
In the whole series.
Okay. Oh my god.
Way.
And I'll be honest. I feel like Brandon let us down because the last incident of this is in Knife of Dreams. So
yeah. Sanderson had the strict.
Yeah.
There has to be more than 7 jerk erects.
Like Jordan likes to slip that in whenever he can.
Well, you can ask Harriet. Yeah.
If you have a search engine of all the books and you want to use it to look up this thing, you can.
I'm just going to count. I don't even think this is the first one. So let's just call this one, which I'm pretty sure it's not.
Clearly, Matt's got it.
Yeah.
This is the first one. But
all right.
I'll
take your word for it.
I'll look up jerked, erect here to see if we got any, yes. So technically there are 2 additional ones where himself is added to the phrase. So there are 9 instances here of jerked erect.
I can tell you I added himself to the phrase twice.
You know what's funny? There's less than 1 per book, and for obviously for obvious reasons, I don't know why I started to say for some reason, but for obvious reasons, we immediately latched onto that one phrase.
Yes, I'm catching on now. But yeah, Great Hunt, Dragon Reborn, Shadow Rising, Crown of Swords, Path of Daggers. Ooh, Path of Daggers has 2 of these. And then
interesting.
Winter's Heart gets 2 also, and then Knife of
Dreams. Maybe one a book is enough for us to be like, this is funny. And then the next time we're like, what? Again?
There's a swan jerked stiffly erect. So I noticed that. I had never noticed that until you guys pointed out, but I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Gareth Briney, then.
I'm gonna.
Oh, don't tell me it was in that. Hold on, it was in Path of Daggers. Hold on. Who's she talking to?
What? See, you're finding more. The more you look, you're just finding more. See?
No, I'm trying to read this one to find out.
The same one. He's getting context.
Okay.
So yes, somebody was talking to her. Yeah, I can't remember who's talking to her, but it's not Gareth. So
gotcha.
I wanted to know if it was Gareth, but it's not Gareth. So 9 instances of jerked with the word erect somewhere near it.
A lot of times. It doesn't. I think that he's got a huge kind of like
Dick.
Vocabulary, pulls on some like huge amounts of huge dick. Different phrases and all that. Jerk direct. I don't think I've ever read that in any other.
This entire episode has been worth it just for this.
It actually has. Yeah. 9 times.
9 times. 9 times.
Seems a lot.
You missed school 9 times last year.
Okay, well now we have to know how many times the word he used the word jerked. He uses that 150 times. Oh, at least 150 times, I should say.
See, that's not
What about erects?
That's 150 times. So jerked is actually a word that I did not realize he used this often. That's only 150 times in the first 4 books.
Wow.
So jerked it around, jerked back, jerked and collapsed.
Are you sure you're looking at the Wheel of Time?
I'm just telling you. I wanted you to be aware of this. I know this is.
This is important to us, man.
This is important.
We're doing good research right now.
Can we get one more? Can we get one more search for the word erect?
Yes, you can. You're welcome. You're welcome. You just give me a call anytime during your episodes, and you're like, hold on before we move on. From this.
We phone a friend in the middle of an episode just to find out how many times he says boner.
Matt, how many times did it say erect in the series?
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to tell you.
Right, see you later.
It's 64 times. 64 times.
64 times. See, maybe there's more erectness than there is jerked erectness, but there's definitely a lot of instances.
Brandon gave us 60. Brandon gave us 2 of those. Jordan gave us 62 of them. So
that makes so much sense.
We did get 2 of them in the Gathering Storm.
Makes a lot of sense.
Erect is used,
and those are probably Robert Jordan's words too.
We've been on this section for a weirdly adorable amount of time.
All right, guys, that's your recap of chapter 46.
Yeah,
all that really happens is Bail Doman jerks erect and watches the one power fight happening over the city, and he's like, "Fuck, should I leave?" And that's it.
The answer is yes. I do love that his besides jerking erect, his first thought is there do no be enough clouds for that, and just kind of like, uh-oh. It's like Marv looking up and seeing a thing of flour coming at him.
So the other big point moment in this one is pretty poignant, which is Ingtar, right? Like that's a big part of this chapter, which is his. I don't know. I can't remember any longer. Honestly, it's impossible to go back to remember the first time through the books. Yeah, because I can't remember how obvious it was. Right? It feels obvious now. I feel like you always knew something was going on, but this moment still kind of gets me. I think every time I read.
I don't think it was obvious, but I think his obsession over the horn was reaching a fever pitch, and you might not have known like why he was because. Honestly, his obsession with the horn seems less like in your face now that I've read it so many times. But like at the time, it was like, Jesus Christ, dude, calm down. We're going after the horn. This is the smart move, is to go to the portal stone or whatever the case may be. It's like every single time they were like even deviated in the slightest bit. He was like, no, we have to get the horn. And you're like, dude, dial it down. Like we're going to get the horn, kind of thing.
Matt, you said you started when book 2 was just coming out, right? Was when you started reading?
Yeah, I want to say, I can't remember if it had already been released or not, but yes, right on there.
Yeah, so we're talking 91?
Yeah, and like 90.
Yeah. I not to ask your age, but what were you, like 27?
Exactly. Yes, I was 7. I was 14 or 15.
Okay.
A rare guest that's been reading longer than us.
Yeah. So
Tom, he doesn't have you by too much. Yeah, he doesn't have me by that much.
I think probably 3 years, maybe.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, there's definitely kind of this. Why would you think that at that age, kind of when we all start reading, it's like you don't really want.
That's a fair point, Jono. Yeah.
Like, a character you like a lot.
I liked him more once I found out.
Yeah. I kind of don't disagree because he was kind of a dick about why didn't you kill the Myrddraal? Not supposed to. Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense. Like,
there are a lot of moments where he seems like a dick or an asshole, and then when you realize what his motivation is, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, man. Do you want a hug? Like it changes how you think about how he is as a person.
Yeah, and a hug may have helped him, 10 years ago.
A little bit.
That was the whole book. Like The Great Hunt, I think, is that moment where Jordan does twist the story around and lets you start seeing the kind of different brands of evil and that you have to contend with as a reader. So, you have the Dark Friend Social at the beginning of this book, which is really, makes you think. And then you obviously have Leandrin coming in and handing the girls over to the Shanchan. And then you have somebody like Ingtar, and you pretty much, you end this book going, like, basically it could be anybody. It's anybody. It's anybody.
No, that's what they may want to get out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just one kind of person, right? There are some people that are going to be redeemable. Maybe there's people that will not be redeemable. No one thinks of Leandrin this way, right? No one's like waiting for Leandrin to have her Ingtar moment, but there are others that you kind of wonder, and I think Jordan does a fantastic. I love that about
point, in this series of chapters, we kind of get, it's later that Baron is a dark friend of some sort too. Like, it's later on in these books, or later on in these chapters, so we don't need to get into it. But it's pretty much the stage is set for Varen and Moraine to be a dark friend in this book because
one of them is lying when Moraine contradicts her. Yeah,
contradicts her. That's correct. That's what women do. One piece I do love, by the way, is Bornhold's real quick POV. Like, I love just the Legion will advance at a walk, and then like in the next chapter at a trot, we'll get on to the fact that he's probably the world's dumbest commander because it comes up against a fucking army that can channel, and he knows that. But it's still fraught with kind of like, the Charge of the Light Brigade type shit, which again, another really dumb kind of
I think he's doing what he thinks is right. I think he sees them as dark friends.
That doesn't make
they have monsters fighting for them. Tactically it's stupid. I'm just saying, I think he thinks it's a moralistically right thing to do.
Yeah, he's just an idiot.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that works.
He's a really incompetent commander.
Which is weird because he's so competent as a commander up until this moment. This moment where he just brings his army out against this. Okay, it's a relatively small army. Well,
this goes back to what I was saying. This is 3 chapters and stuff happens. 2 heists, and Bornhold goes crazy and just sends his people, his troops in some weird way that you were not expecting when you read it.
He's smarter at deceiving his allies on where his army goes than he is at attacking the enemy.
They snuck all the way across the Helmut Plains.
Yeah,
and then they get here, and he's like, "Let's just walk in."
Yeah, how about a frontal charge, right? When they've got a whole bunch of weapons that can come from above, on the side, below, whatever.
They're not going to sneak up on anybody in those bright white clothes.
That's true.
I don't know, Tom. It's white fog.
It's literally
white fog rolls in, Tom. Conceals them.
Yeah, exactly.
The one time their camouflage works, and they just go straight ahead.
Yeah.
Why don't you just come find us up here in the mountains where it's snowy? Well, weird.
They only fight on mountain peaks.
But during the winter, or really,
Tom, the light protects them. They don't need camouflage.
That makes sense.
I've always kind of enjoyed, at the same time, they don't do it as much. He did not do it as much after this book. I think this is when he realized, I don't need to push the envelope so much. Cynical that, the kind of Taviran-ness pulling on everything, right? Right now, he literally feels like if he leaves, Falm too early, Egwene and other pieces die, so he's got to go back. It's more orchestrated Taviran-ness versus what actually, he feels later on, and name a random book besides the last one where he doesn't feel that by entering a battle or leaving a battle that it's going to change.
This whole scene, actually, in the next chapter, obviously, but this whole Rand bit with the armies working with him, and when he falls back, they fall back, and when he falls or goes forward, it's very Last Battle, what Brandon did with the Last Battle. I don't know if that was Brandon or if that was Robert Jordan's notes or. But
I think I was
very similar.
I was listening to a podcast with Brandon today, and I think he said that Jordan said that well, this is spoiling everything up to the end of the book, so I feel bad for anybody that's listening. But
again, we say spoilers all the time.
we sure. So, but he said that Jordan didn't want the final conflict between Rand and the Dark One to be a physical battle. It should be a battle of ideas. But I love that the battle of ideas does. I did like that Brandon kind of, if he made this choice, he kind of pulled it back in with the Great Hunt. I like the return to that.
The mirroring of this battle and the last battle with Rand's bitten in it in the last battle, that is, it's really cool, and it also kind of mirrors how he is looking down at the battlefield and he can see falling below him and then see the white cloaks coming and they're like right above him and it doesn't make spatial sense and like stuff like that. Like that's really cool. Anyway, that's
I have an important
question.
I have an important question before we jump to the next chapter.
Yeah.
How often does Jono forget to throw a dick joke in and actually say like really consequential Wheel of Time stuff that like surprises people? Like is that like 10%? It's about 10%. Okay, I just want to know how much more often I should expect kind of like to lean in and be like, wait, I think he's saying something. Really?
He's actually saying something important. You know
he
what?
Finishes talking
Matt,
and there's no dick joke, and you're like, "What?"
I have a decent response to this. Okay. When it's the end of a book, it's more Wheel of Time discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. The dick jokes are peppered in the beginning, but when we reach a point like this, he's going to actually be talking about the book.
Despite describing all of it as climactic and orgasmic, way more book related, which should make you feel bad for my wife.
I understand. We can move on. We can move on now.
Rand.
Is that it?
Like the shaking of the head makes everything feel better.
So Ingtar says he let in the Gray Man, but he didn't necessarily open the gates. Are we like 100% sure and or not sure, or is that still gray area or
gray area?
Maybe those two Shanirians that got murdered or skinned alive or whatever were actually Dark Friends and let them in the first place, or you remember because it wasn't their shift or something and they were missing?
Yeah, I can't remember. My guess would be that he's talking about something else. In other words,
he probably was told to take him inside Caldera.
Multiple entries. You know, he probably wasn't the only one.
Well, he let the Gray Man in that shoots the arrow at Rand / the Emerald Seed. And he's like, I don't know which one it is.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about who let the person in beforehand.
Yeah, the point is his confession to Rand, Ingtar's confession to Rand, he doesn't actually state that he opened the gate, like at the dog gate or whatever.
Yeah,
to let them in. He just says that he let in a Gray Man, and he doesn't even say Gray Man. He just says,
he
I
says
let in a guy that I couldn't really pay attention to him. He was really plain looking at, it basically says Gray Man without saying Gray Man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Tom, I guess I always forget the fact that, like, once we finish reading it, there's two fights. There's the one at the morning, or the one at the night that's through the dog gate, and then there's the one that's comes later, which is just the Gray Man that shoots at Rand. Ending. So now we don't really know who lets him in the dog gate. Obviously.
When you see those two guards that are skinned alive earlier in the book, you kind of have this like feeling like they were captured and weren't actually Dark Friends.
And whatever.
But when you hear Ingtar's confession, it kind of like puts new light on that. Like maybe they were the ones that went down there and slit the dude's throats and opened that gate, being the gate guards. And then they left as Dark Friends with the other Dark Friends and then were murdered for whatever reason or whatever. So I'm just kind of going like, were they innocent or not? And who knows? Like maybe they were around Fane too much or something. I don't know.
Feels like a really low stakes mystery that we're trying to solve.
All I'm saying, it's not a mystery that we need to solve. All I'm saying is that Ingtar's confession doesn't solve it, is the key.
Yeah.
Like
there's no low stakes mysteries in the other.
Yeah. They're all high stakes, Tom.
Yeah.
It was Asmodean.
Exactly.
So Ingtar also says something along, because we had kind of talked about this when they did the flickers through the portal stones. We were kind of talking about like, how much did they see, or like what do they see? How do they all not know? Just know that Rand is the Dragon Reborn, just based on living so many lives or X amount of lives, kind of thing. And Ingtar literally says, when Varen brought us here through the portal stone. So he clearly doesn't know. I mean, like, I don't know if anybody else knows. Like, maybe Massimo saw Rand as the dragon in one of his lives or something, but like, or whoever else. But like, obviously, there are some people that lived many, many lives as much as Rand did through the portal flickers. and didn't see that Rand is the Dragon Reborn, because that's kind of unbelievable to me in a weird way.
Oh. Yeah, I feel like that's likely just a Jordan mistake.
Yeah, it seems like such a scenario that would like be almost impossible to not like if I know Clark Kent is Superman in one life, and then I live 1,000 lives, like, and I don't know he's Superman in all the other lives, like, really? 1,000?
Well, what about,
kind of thing? I don't know.
What about this? And I'm not agreeing with this idea, this postulate, but like the idea that all of your lives are based, like that you've seen, are based on what you already know, right? So, because although that doesn't really make sense because Rand understands about the Seanchan and his stuff.
That was a great time to freeze.
Thank you.
No, I heard it.
Oh yeah, it's just So because like what if all your fake memories are based on kind of what you know now, and then it's just extrapolations from kind of using that. But I don't
because he doesn't know Rand is the dragon, none of his like potential lives played out in a way that he knew Rand was a dragon ever. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that makes sense though, because Rand doesn't really know about the Seanchan when he goes.
Yeah, I don't necessarily buy that one, but I see where your head's at though. I don't dislike it.
That kind of takes away from them being real different lives though, and real different universes and real different kind of timeline.
The only thing I could argue in Jordan's defense here is that Rand lived out many, many lives where he never was the Dragon Reborn. He was old and died, or he did this and died, and did this and died, or like, I think he was always the
dragon. Wait, but hold on, doesn't Rand like see one of his kids?
Yes. He has kids with a queen.
He never would have seen. He wouldn't have known names or seen his kids. And
exactly.
Still part of his future. So technically, like, they have to be seeing futures where they interact with people and events that they couldn't have known about or seen before.
All I'm kind of saying is the frequency with which Rand doesn't like fulfill himself as the Dragon Reborn and like announce that he's the Dragon Reborn is many. So maybe that's why they don't. I don't know. I'm kind of grasping at a loose straw here.
I mean, I think we're trying to find a way to explain something that's probably a storytelling mistake, because I don't see how they don't come out of that portal stone and at least like give them the side eye. Like, wait a minute.
Like, I know you. I know. I had 1 out of 1,000. I know things. Yeah. All right. Well, chapter 47. The grave is no bar to my call, which is fucking the greatest chapter title.
I love this title, and I'm sure I said that 10 years ago. This is one of those just kind of shivers down my back.
Yeah, the recap is just Matt blows the horn and then battle.
It's a fantastic recap. I love it.
So Rand rides back to the guys and he's like, and they're like, "Where's Ingtar?" And he's like, "He's dying." And he's like, Perrin's like, "He's dying. We need to help him." And he's like, "No, he's dying for us, so we can leave."
He doesn't have cancer, but he's being stabbed to death currently.
Okay. Other than Rand, like, kind of saying, again, it's that moment where he's like, "You guys just take the horn and go. Like, I need to go back for a glean." Like, it's a pivotal moment. And again, but like I was saying earlier to Matt's point, like, not necessary. That could have happened earlier, and you could have just had Rand get cut off by the White Cloak Army and had to turn around. Although I guess it is more of a heroic way of turning around, I suppose.
Well, that's also kind of like, I think that there was, again, maybe there was this intention, because it happened in the first book as well, when he talks to, what some people, the creator and or the Dark One, that he's kind of got this feeling that something has to happen. It's portentous. It's got to be now. And this is, like, I think that he kind of felt like that this is what you got to do during these situations where all of a sudden the pattern takes charge, and it's not just what Rand wants, but thankfully they coincide. But in this case, like, it's obviously he kind of abandons that to a certain extent of just this almost puppeteer-like feeling. But here it's still very important to note, because it's both really badass and, of course, at the same time, like, talk about never getting anything wrong when you're the hero, is that everything's guided by an upper power, or called the pattern. So it kind of takes away from the badassness, while at the same time just always being cool, because you can't lose a fight.
I want to throw out a possible explanation that I've never considered before. Well, at least that I remember. I probably did like 15 years ago to make that number. But Matt, maybe in Matt's futures, he saw himself blow the horn. And he's kind of throwing it off a little bit like, I don't know, maybe I should blow the horn right now. But in his futures, he was like, I blew the horn and we escaped this thing. And now I'm going to act like, I don't want to act like I know what I'm talking about. I don't want to believe what I saw in there. And I don't want to, but hey, well, no one says we can't blow the horn because maybe he did see himself blow it. And he was like,
I mean, it's very possible.
What do we do with this again?
That completely explains him. That explains him throwing it over the wall too, and not shit about it.
Exactly. He's like, this can't break.
I know it's mine.
This happen.
Trust me. Like in 20 minutes.
Because I hate because it's just like Matt randomly like blows the horn. He's like, why the hell not? I mean, I love it for him, but I love it in the sense of him doing it with a little bit of pre-knowledge of like this actually will turn out okay.
So something I said 10 years ago, but very briefly, was kind of like I was sort of expecting Rand to blow the horn, and it kind of falls on what you've been saying, Matt, the whole time about like all this shit is crammed into so many chapters, and you're like, he's the hero, so to speak, and you're just kind of expecting him to do all the big things, and like when Matt is the one who does it, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Matt gets a thing, kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, but that's not what actually happens. The greatest part about this is Matt blows the horn, and you're like, as a reader, you're like, well, I kind of thought it was gonna be Rand, and that's kind of ridiculous. Then the heroes show up and they literally ignore Matt and they're like, oh, yep, there's the dragon banner. Cool. We follow the dragon. I don't know who the dude was that blew it.
They don't even care. You know what the funniest a funny part that I never even like really touched on or like kind of like stood out to me before is that Hawkwind calls him trumpeter, and it's not even like something kind of cool sounding like horn sounder. And he basically just goes like, hey dude with the you play instruments.
Hey, side character.
Why don't you play some horn while we run into battle? Because you're obviously
thanks for bringing us here, but we're not going to follow you. But it's cool that you got this thing. You know,
they're the heroes of the horn. They don't want to hang out with the guy that's in band. They want to hang out with the quarterback.
Jesus.
Tom, on that note, you said it's like Rand's the quarterback and Perrin is the flag twirler.
Wow.
Matt is the band.
Oh, 10 years later.
Is that 10 years? Oh, wow. That's impressive. I love this reliving your past lives.
Oh, no, it's so funny because I'm the only one that does it, and then they repeat themselves, and I'm like, this is hilarious.
Did not progress.
Do you know how many like shitty jokes Joe has avoided from listening to that? That's really all it's about. It's just kind of like,
yeah, 100%. You guys have this ability too, by the way.
Oh, we don't.
I'm the only one.
I want to throw this out to you there. I've gotten in trouble for this one, but I think that this happens for the TV show. I think this is too much too soon. What would you say about like them just dropping this whole blowing the horn part into the TV show?
Matt being linked to the horn plays so many like importance like roles in the story, like driving a lot of his plot and stuff.
Yeah, but you'd have to replace that portion of it. But it's really the dagger and him going to the White Tower and being kind of disassociated with the dagger itself, and then going and actually saving the girls later on and going.
I gotta agree. I don't think the horn really means much for him other than like psychologically almost. Like, because it really, I mean, other than being called horn sounder by Brigitte later, and like, it really doesn't. I mean, that could be held off.
I don't know. Maybe not as a character, but as a reader, the stakes of Matt being tied to the dagger. The horn.
I agree
to add into like as a reader, like you caring more about. Does that need to happen in the show though? Not necessarily.
But we're talking like second season, and you call down the heroes.
Yeah, I definitely would not be upset if they don't do it. Let's put it.
Or maybe they change the battle, because right now the battle's this: the heroes show up. They apparently with like one arrow can like take out entire ships, and they basically can just kill people randomly. However, Rand is fighting, And so if Rand's losing, they're losing. Like the heroes are so tied to Rand that they're extremely like overpowered, but they're underpowered if Rand's losing. But if he's winning, then everybody else is winning.
Yeah.
Except the White Cloaks still get decimated. Like that's a really weird part. Like, anyways, there's so much oddity there from. And then Rand has this moment. He's like in the sky, and I do love the whole like charging horse thing. And then he gets thrown off the horse, and there's like this funny moment of battling as they're talking with the Shamael while everyone else is.
I like the idea of his horse just falling out of a cloud, hitting the ground.
That horse is going to be red literally when that horse is literally going to be red when it hits the ground.
I think they should tweak it a little bit. I don't know. Everyone hates the fact that I suggest that maybe getting rid of this. I get how impactful it is from a reader standpoint. I understand the connection to all the people that are involved. It just seems like this is like this huge climax that no one like. There's no climax like this in the book until much later, and so it's
You know
what, Matt? Honestly, you're probably talking to the three people that would most likely like be okay with what you're saying. You know, except for Jono.
But do my well, even do my as well, right? Like that's just like that's destruction that you can kind of accept. Like we're not talking about heroes and forsaken in clouds with the pattern.
That's just a large battle. Yeah, that's a large battle needs to happen at some point.
But I guess book 9, the climax of book 9 is the thing that's closest to that of cleansing the sword.
Yeah, that's
to a certain extent, kind of glossed over it, and maybe I understated it, or maybe I'm trying to state it in a way that makes me sound smarter now. But like that, how the climax of book 2 is something you kind of overlook, except how badass it is briefly with the horn blowing. But really, other than the horn blowing and kicking the Shamshan to the curb for 2 books, book and a half, really nothing important happens because Ishmael dies again in the next book, 3 in a row.
Third time's a charm.
Like the thing that's important is Rand, describing himself, allowing himself to be called the Dragonborn, and the heroes coming out. To a certain extent, it's either not very important or incredibly important, and it just kind of depends on what you want to call that. Because again, you don't see the heroes for literally a dozen books. You don't see, like the other battles that are won, they're kind of just briefly won, and then the war still goes on. So like you can kind of call it either way. Like, is it
what if you dropped a Shamael, drop a Shamael's fight with Rand, and just have the horn with the heroes and focus on the battle itself and give us more battle?
You need him announcing his presence in the sky, right?
It depends on how much you want to go there and versus
I think
that announcement. You could move that announcement to tier, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Like you could.
Sure.
Like you could have that be a big
everything. I mean, on that scale, like everything's kind of fluid. You can kind of move everything around. Although, moving that to tier would make a lot more sense, especially in terms of like even the title of the book. But like,
right.
But just I don't know. I don't know if you need the heroes for sure. I think you do sort of need the.
I think what it does.
Him fighting in the sky with Ishmael is a pivotal moment where he can't hide anymore, in Moraine's words. So like, and there's the Shanirians give arrows to him, and he breaks those, and like it's like a real turning point.
Think about what happens.
Whether or not you need that per se until book 3 or season 3, I don't know. Who knows how they're doing the show.
But if he doesn't do that, they take out Massima, they take out that obnoxious fail threat. Like that would be okay.
I don't know. And people have said this to me because I suggested this, and they're like, I can already tell. They're like, if Amazon Wadham Prime does this, people are like pissed that they'd be like, they're gonna blame me for throwing the idea out there. But
I think a lot of people are gonna be. really mad.
Yeah.
When this starts.
I do too. Also, me and Tom won't be one of them, and I think Matt won't either. So I'm approaching the show in the sense of like going like, let's see what they do, and I'm interested and I'm very excited, but I'm not like gonna sit there and be like, how dare they change this? You know, like and if they shift stuff around and it makes logical sense in the show, great.
I've read these books like 20 times. I don't need a beat for beat.
Yeah, exactly. We've read the book. Like I've had it play out in my brain. You know, like show me something different. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
As long as it makes sense, it's intuitive, and it's just good to watch. I don't care what you do with it, really.
Yeah.
I've got every scene straight in my own head. As long as you don't fuck with that, make what you want. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, this discussion of cutting this has engendered a hashtag. Let Barney blow is the hashtag that came out of this discussion, which is
Let Barney blow is a good one.
Let Barney blow. Yeah,
we should have just.
There was anger. There was a lot of anger at this suggestion. I
think you're getting a no from Jono, but you're getting an absolutely from me and Tom. So
I have no problem with that. I especially love Barney blowing. Let's get back to the topic here. God damn it, it's already 10 o'clock. Can we talk about how dumb this is? Again, I think we briefly mentioned it. I had forgotten that there are literally thousands of Shan-Chan scrambling to fight, as well as dozens of, Sildam and Domain. Well, I guess dozens and then a dozen, because it's like 4-1 numbers. Plus Grom and flying creatures to go up against this 1,000-person army of the White Cloaks. It's not very smart. No. I had always it was going to be an even battle because I guess I hadn't read the thousands word with a plural. And then as soon as I was rereading it like an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with Bonehold? Like that's
well, I mean, it's not like there were thousands of troops mobilized in a line like in front of him. He was just riding down into the city while all this started to happen randomly. Like, it's not that insane, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, with Damane.
No, you're right. No, I mean, when you throw in the one power, you're just like, what are you, insane?
Yeah, which of course he was more than aware of because that was part of his biggest problem. So again, just a little disappointed in our man because he's pretty, like you said, he's pretty level-headed. He's pretty grandfatherly, and much like many grandfathers, apparently he's actually way dumber and maybe using his mind.
Yeah.
The one cool part from that, however stupid his move is that Bayer, because of the fog and what's happening, Bayer's not going to be able to see how he dies, and he has actually has remorse for that or regret for it. I'm like, that's kind of sad. You made a dumb decision, but I recognize that you're a human, I guess.
But his Bayer won't know how I'm dying. Well, odds are now torn to pieces by lightning, torn to pieces by earthquake, cut in half with a sword and never saw it coming because he was massively.
Or a pterodactyl eats him. I don't know. He just rides. Bayer rides back and he's like, "Look, I don't know. He either died with a lightning bolt or the fucking earth ripped him in half."
No, Bayer's like, "All right, here's the fog. Here's this army with all these creatures and people that can channel. There's a giant war happening. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it was Perrin."
I was gonna mention that in the little brief part. I'm jumping ahead, but the little brief part with Bayer is that he rides away and he needs to tell them what happened, kind of thing.
That's in the next chapter, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I said I'm jumping ahead, but he rides away and he says, "I need to tell them what happened." Blah blah blah. We were betrayed by dark friends, quote, like Perrin, Ibarra, end quote. And I'm like, what do you mean? How does "we were betrayed by dark friends like that one guy I once met" translate into later books into going it was Perrin who did it? And you're just like, what the fuck? I always thought that was weird. And now that I'm reading that line specifically, I'm just going what the fuck? He doesn't even say that in the moment. What is happening? This man is insane.
Yeah, how embarrassed would he have been? Would Bornhold have been if Bayer had been able to actually watch what happened? You know what I mean? Like the mists cover them, and he can't see. So in his head, he hears later on that Shanshan we're basically have left, and he hears all these things, and he's probably thinking like it was that charge. Like Bayer's learning the wrong lesson here. Like he's probably like that was a strategic move, the tactical move was like amazing. And if he had actually been no mist, he would have been like, "Oh my gosh, Bornhold killed all of our men."
He would have written back and been like, Bornhold's insane. He rode all of our men into a death pile.
Yeah. It's like, exactly.
The real answer is, don't run into places against overwhelmingly bad odds. What he learned was, well, he really got fucked over by this dark friend. And then fucking Pedro Nile is totally open to the idea of just sending hundreds upon hundreds, just like in this situation, of fucking white cloaks into the two rivers, under Wormwood or Fane's fucking power. It's like, no, dumb fuck, that was not the answer. Literally, that's the problem. But you know what? Fuck it, do it. That's book 4.
Exactly. By the way, I did notice something about this, which I thought was kind of funny, that I hadn't noticed before. The heroes are supposed to be there for Rand, right? They're like, we're here in the moment, we're fighting for the dragon, and then they like leave to go fight the Shanshan, and like Perrin is fighting. You'd think like they would have been like, hey, let's help your friends right here first, make sure they're taken care of, and then we'll go take care of everybody else. But they're like, we're here for the dragon, see you later. Rand goes up in the clouds, they're over there, and Perrin and Hearn are still fighting for their lives. Like they have the friggin' heroes, and they're still about to die.
I imagine some of them are with them, right?
But you would think
be like following that banner.
One hero, you'd think that one hero would have been standing in front of Perrin, like, I got this. Like, don't worry.
Oh yeah, don't worry. Just hold the banner. I got it.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's like Perrin and Hearn are fighting for their lives when they have the heroes of the Horn there to solve the problem. So that stuck out to me this time.
They've been locked away for so long. The second the battle starts, they just all go ape shit. They lose all discipline. They're just gone. The generals disappeared into the sky. They're just like, whatever. The target practice on boats.
Do you think this fight would have been like visually, this fight being book 2, you don't see a lot. You just know that it's happening. Dumai's Wells is all frozen in our brains like the bloodiest fight of all time.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying the numbers aren't greater there, because they definitely are, but like we're 1,000 soldiers just got shredded by the one power in this fight, theoretically. Like I assume that's what happened to them. But like, kind of going like, if there wasn't fog there, this fight would have been very brutal looking. Like we would have seen just the earth exploding and bodies flying everywhere and lightning ripping people apart. And it's like, but in your memory, you're just like, oh yeah, they fought in Falm, man. It's not a big deal.
Well, maybe Jordan got some critique from people, and they were like the mist thing, like that was cool.
Yeah, like, hey, how about let us see the battle? Yeah.
And he came back with Dumai as well. He's like, I'll let you see a battle.
Oh, all right, all right. I'll show you this. Just hold on, hold tight.
Do you guys
I'll see it.
Do you guys remember reading a quote or seeing something that Jordan, he didn't like writing like the big battle scenes because of his time in war, so he kind of danced around them a lot in the beginning? Am I imagining that?
I don't remember that.
I'm surprised. I don't remember that necessarily, but
I don't remember that quote itself. I know I've read some recently about how he talked about the fact that obviously the way that he describes battles being very much, and I guess you might be able to look at each of the battles and think about him trying to communicate some portion of combat and how it feels. Like you have Matt who jumps in the middle of it and kills Couladin, right? Mm-hmm, you have this moment of the mists making it really difficult to understand like what's happening, at a macro or a micro level.
Yeah,
then you have Dumai as well, where you see just like so
death
much destruction, just death at a certain scale. And I guess you might be able to look at each of those battles and try to pull out from there, like, what is the experience that he's really trying to communicate? I think that's, and maybe this one is just, he wanted the literal fog of war. He wanted to present that idea of like, you can't see the individual sacrifices, you don't see the individual sacrifices of people literally when there's fog in the midst of war. You just hear lots of people dying and fighting. So.
And then poor Bayer can't tell them how Bonehold died.
Serious note, because way more serious than I'm usually ready for. I kind of, do we actually know how all of the White Cloaks die? Because like think about it, like the White Cloaks are about to join battle versus the Shan-Chan, then the heroes show up, and the heroes are shown entirely just fighting the Shan-Chan. What the fuck are the White Cloaks doing here? Like, are they also trying to go?
I think they're just in a fucking meat grinder, Jono. That's kind of what I was saying. I was like, I think if you take that fog back, like, you're just seeing them get decimated. Like, they're
but again, whom? Because I mean, I guess that technically 100 people versus it's only going to take up a quarter of the battlefield, so maybe that's it. But just.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't be surprised if some probably escape. You know, I mean, there's probably some White Cloaks hanging around that were at the Battle of Falma. You know, that
for sure, yeah.
Made it out.
There's got to be survivors. Yeah.
I mean, those bright white outfits. I don't know how you're sneaking away.
I'm telling you, the mist hit a lot of people.
They were hidden in the fog, Tom.
Oh, that makes so much sense, right? The fog comes in. I bet you there's so many people that were like, Bornhall just sent us in here to die, and there was fog. There were probably a bunch of people that just like took a left. You know what
I mean? They joined up with Fane's Trollocs that he left outside the city months ago. And never brought in.
Yeah.
And then they basically did a TV series and The Wheel of Time, like The Odd Couple.
Exactly. Oh man.
So one thing that you know, when Hawkwing first appears, which by the way, when all the fucking heroes start showing up, it's cool as shit.
Yeah, for sure.
But Rand mentions he's looking at Hawkwing, or Hawkwing mentions that, you know, like he's fought against him almost as many times as he's fought with him. Is that a Hawkwing the hero? Hawkwing versus like when would that ever have happened? Like not that each
Dark Friend blows the horn.
Like, but that never happened. Like, and apparently it's happened nearly 50% of the time. Like it just seems.
Yeah, I think that's another one of those. Well, I'm trying to remember if Jordan answered this one or not, and so I'm going to try to do a lookup while we're chatting about this. But Jordan does a lot of things in the first two books, especially when it comes to his metaphysics, that don't have any real direct explanation. But later on, you can try to kind of piece it together. Like once we get Brigitte, you know, and she starts talking to them later on in the books and explaining how this hero business works. I think Jordan started coming up with more rules to explain when they have memories, when they don't, who they can, you know, do they know who they're talking to if they're alive, you know, but the hero isn't alive, or if the hero has been reborn, in other words, he starts piecing those rules together. But I think these first two books, the rules are really loose, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Especially even with the one power itself.
Yeah, because that's one of those where people always think the things people bring up, or he knows this is the dragon's soul. And so because he knows it's a dragon's soul, and he's still in a kind of he's in a hero state. He knows all the lives that both of them have, or that he's lived when he has maybe known that he's fought the dragon, and maybe this is the sixth age.
That's what I would say is the answer there, Jono. It's more like it's less about like you're thinking of Arthur Hawkwing as like the guy that just died like 1,000 years ago or whatever, but really as a hero of the Horn, that was just the last time he was alive. You know, like he's probably been attached to the Horn for X amount of times and gone through X amount of, you know, like.
I get that, but why would he ever have gone against Arthur Hawkwing?
So there are non-dragon incarnations in the way that Jordan explains it. So there are moments where they might have just been at odds in a battle, but unrelated to like the end of an age, if that makes sense. And he's just aware of it because his soul has memories, and it's recognizing the soul.
Where Absalon and, you know, what's his name was, you know, again, not that that's the right answer, but gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best. I just looked it up. He did answer that question, but he just talked about it in that sense of like, well, this is the souls of the hero and bound to the wheel, and it's spun out, and it's born in other ages, but in a non-dragon incarnation to suit the pattern. Basically saying,
Matt, we're definitely going to call you as a phone a friend in every episode we have now from now on.
and again, how many times was the word jerk direct? Was it 9?
It was a jerk.
9.
Well, hold on. Jerk direct as a single phrase was 7 times. Don't get this wrong.
7. Okay.
But jerked with potentially one single word between between Jerk and Erect, then there's a total of 9 of those if you include all the ones. So yeah,
and that's
depends on how you want to count it.
Yeah.
7 to 9 times, Jono.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
I wish it was 6 to 9.
I do love when he tells Huron, he's like, hey, you try your luck, maybe you'll be here too. And Huron could not have walked into battle like ready, like
more ready. Yeah.
Fuck it up. Yeah.
I love that moment. Do we think Huron made it now after we've read the whole series?
Huron lives, I think.
What made it into the heroes?
Pretty sure. Oh, no, I mean, not necessarily the heroes. I'm just saying Huron lived.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, do we think he made it? Did he do enough?
Oh, no.
unless they need a role player that they're just like, look,
I think if he had stayed with Rand, he probably would have.
They need a smelling guy. They already have a dry ice guy.
That dry ice guy, he knows his job too, by the way. I don't know if you noticed how much fog was rolling down those mountainsides, but it was crazy.
Rogash Eagle dry
ice.
Eagle dry ice.
Yeah,
I love the idea that actually they had to bring in Huron because like someone like blew the horn and then just gatewayed away, and they're like, well, where's the battle? Oh, bring Huron.
Matt, do you need a... Oh, sorry, John. I'll keep going.
Do you need to smell where the battle is? Because he can help us out here. 30 miles west. I
was just going to say, Matt, do you need a break to go pee or something?
No, I'm good. All
right, just checking.
These next chapters are not the size of the previous.
They're very small. I'm just checking to make sure, because we have a tendency to just be like, oh, we're fine, let's keep going, and then we never ask our guests if they need a second to like go get a glass of water or something.
I had to take out like one of my earphones and like charge it while the other one's in.
Oh, that's what I do that all the time.
I can hear them both like dying, and I was like,
I forgot to get drinks. So give me like 45 seconds before you start the next chapter. I'll be right back.
Okay,
yeah, sounds good.
Well, we're not there. We're not there yet, Tom.
I was gonna say, John, I'm surprised that you didn't bring up role playing in Turok. I feel like you lost that opportunity when we were there. Like,
I love the weirdness of like the servants killing themselves. Yeah, it's fine. Like, but also like everyone, like as soon as like there's a fight, they just kind of like lie on the ground.
Yeah.
It seems kind of like.
I feel like it's obvious that Turok's into kind of role playing with people. Like he's like Rand comes in, he's like, "Oh, you're my new," it's kind of like it's like this battle moment. Like, okay, cool.
Like I was saying, like we were mocking him for leaving the back door unguarded. I'm pretty sure he did that on purpose. He like they were just standing behind like those paper doors in Japan. They're just like, shh, look at us. Oh, you're not who I was expecting.
Exactly. Have you ever been behind one of those screens? You can hear everything. Like they're not like they knew they were there the entire time. They were like, "This is awesome! I can't wait to kill these people."
I want to see the camera on the other side of that screen then, because I want to see Turok being like, "Shut the fuck up."
Exactly, I love it.
Back up! I can see your shadow.
Back up! They can see your shadow against the light, you idiots!
I just see him looking at his fingernails while stuff's happening. And like Matt's saying stuff to Rand, like "Get the dagger!" And he's like, "Oh, shoot, on the dagger." Probably.
I mean, he walks into the room, and someone hands him his sword, and he's like, "All right, let's fight." You're just like, come on! That guy planned that whole thing. He just thought Fane was going to be on the other side of that wall.
Ends up all Rand needed was a fucking breastplate because like this dude just goes shirtless to a fight.
That said, here's an important note. Where the fuck is Fane in all of this? We've never talked about that in depth.
Fane's just pissed off because the dagger was taken and somebody else figured out how to open the mechanism to get it.
Yeah. Is he not mentioned at all?
He's not. Well, he's mentioned in the fact that like Turok's servant guy was like murdered like the night before, and I think that's why it's even more plausible that Turok set this whole event up as a trap for him, like knowing that Fane was coming for the dagger kind of thing or the horn.
He's already on his way to Dick yet.
But then if Rand springs the trap early, I guess like where the fuck was Fane? And then the whole fight happens, and you're just like, where was Fane during that? Very strange. It's very strange.
It's probably in a hotel room somewhere, like creepily stroking like a child's head and with a bomb nearby. The most disturbing scene in all the books.
It's also the fact that Fane can feel where Rand is.
I think his alarm clock didn't go off.
That's all it is. He just got drunk, fell asleep after he was stroking some kid's head, and just like
he woke up and like the power went out. And he woke up really late, and he ran to the airport as fast as he could.
I mean, he might have gotten bored and left. He's been waiting for months.
He was there last night.
And then he did say he was going to go attack the two rivers if Rand didn't show up, and if he's and Fallen months go by while Rand is just off the board.
It was literally day too late.
Plan in motion.
He could feel Rand in Fallen, but he's just like, nope, man of my word, one day too late.
It's been 2 months and a day.
Yeah.
The oddity of these three chapters that we talked about that are really quick, I almost feel like it makes you wonder if like Jordan was in a hurry to deliver this book for publication, because these next three chapters, I don't even understand them sometimes. Like I look at them, I'm like, you just had this huge, like this isn't a denouement or whatever they call it, right? Like this is just like a, yeah, and some random stuff happens. It's not very important. The end, but it's like 3 chapters. It's a very strange transition from everything that's just happened. But maybe it makes sense. But
breathless,
so condensed.
All of a sudden, like, man.
I think books from now he would just make this an epilogue. Like he would have taken these 3 chapters and just made them an epilogue.
Yeah. This is a very strange 3 chapters.
They are a strange 3 chapters after this.
I blame him.
Which is why we've spent so much time on the first 3 chapters.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if I were to tell my wife, don't worry, there's 3 chapters left, I'll be there soon, she'll be like, fuck off.
We're weirdly kind of burying the lead.
We usually only do 3.
Well, 3 or 4. But we're really burying the lead and not talking about the Balzamon Bazalgazamazaman man.
I was just thinking that. I was like,
Rand. Right. But at the same time, we kind of talked about it a little bit already. I don't know how much you guys want to talk about it. There's really...
It's really not
a
much to
whole lot of ground to tread here that we haven't already tread.
So Rand gets stabbed and stabs.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
It's at the end.
Rand gets stabbed in the side and stabs Balzamon in the heart.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about how the battle's flowing back and forth. We kind of covered it. I'm just saying it's a little strange that we're like, hey, let's move on.
Did we talk about how, like, in this part, right, like, Rand, like, is in the middle of a fight for his life against the devil, basically, and then he just happens to, like, glance down and notice Doman sailing away, right?
I do love that. Wait, is he sailing away already? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's still like, why are you distracted? Why are you distracted by this?
I can't even see his face, but I know it's Bail Doman.
I know that guy.
Breaking the
you just know Bail Doman by
fucking focus.
It's like Jordan over there, like jumping into Rand's eyes and being like, "Hey, Bail Doman's leaving." Everybody noticed that.
I wonder if that was an edit point where somebody, like, he finished the book and someone's like, "Well, whatever happened with Bail Doman?" He's like, "I don't know. I'll put him in the cloud."
I guess he sailed away. I don't know.
And Harriet was like, "It's very important. It do be important that he be in the next."
Exactly. It to be important.
And mention him leaving at some point.
Bella wants to be in all the fucking books. We have to make sure Bail Doman also doesn't die. So, like all these pieces that really aren't that important, make it into the next piece, the next book.
Yeah.
So it's weird that they don't really do this in the last battle, but when Matt blows the horn, time literally stops. Like they're just sitting there chatting about the banner for like 5 minutes. And nothing's happening. I mean, they literally say like time isn't moving.
Yeah.
It's a little weird, right? And like when the horn is sounded in the last battle, like the heroes just come down and help. Like nothing. It's a little more realistic, honestly. Like grounded in realism, rather.
I think they have to check everybody's paperwork the first time you blow it.
Yeah.
And then once that's cleared up, like the second time you do, they're like, yeah, same guy. Okay, let's go.
Well, you do realize, actually, you did see that like the second hero was Zach Morris doing the timeout.
Oh, is that what it is?
I don't know how I feel about that joke.
Breaks the fourth wall.
Oh, man.
Also, everyone knows Zach Morris isn't a hero. Come on.
Yeah, we didn't cover the Rand part too much, but I think that's because he keeps fighting the same person and it's boring, right? Like, it's like, oh wait, he's fighting a Shamael again. Great, guess what? We're going to talk about this again in 50 more chapters.
I mean, I will say it's an awesome fight. Like, other than that, like,
I just think it's funny we'd cover it more if it was the last one, and it's not. So then when we do get to the last one in the third book, kind of like we're just like whatever.
Yes,
we super glance over it.
Yeah, I think that's a meaningful glance over. I think it's important that we don't give it much time.
Agreed.
It's like they fight again. That's what happens.
All right, let's wrap up these last 3 chapters that are 5 seconds long each. Chapter 48, first claiming, it's a Min chapter and a little bit of Buyer, which we already talked about, so we can skip it. Yeah,
I mean, you almost did my recap. I just put Min lays in bed with Rand in the most high-trafficked bedroom ever. Buyer runs away.
That's a beautiful
chapter.
Oh, by the way, this is she watches Bail Doman flee, Tom. Right here.
Oh.
That's where he lives. When Rand sees Bail Doman, he's still just patiently waiting.
That's 3 chapters in a row.
Just waiting.
Oh, wait, Matt, I think you mentioned it. This is where there's the reference to the fucking weird ass point where Birgit walks on water to fight the hero that is silver, that then blows up an entire Shan-Chan ship. Like,
yeah, it's insane. She rides her horse across the bay and then shoots a boat and it catches on fire. Like, that does not happen when she is a hero later on in the last battle. Like, they don't just come down and decimate things. They just, like, fight like normal humans. But
I
also
think I would have the question of, like, could they even possibly lose? Like, even if Rand is losing to Balzamon, which, by the way, spoiler, he doesn't.
It's Balagazan Mizuka-man.
So I will say, to your point that I think there is, but that doesn't come until later on that you actually feel like something could happen to them. When you see what Moghedien does to Brigitte, then you realize, oh, there is some one power way to fight them if you know how to do it, though, right? Like that's a very specialized battle against them, but you apparently can use the one power to fight them in some form or fashion. So, but still, she takes out a ship. It's like, but then a bunch of ships go and get away. This is the part I don't understand. Like, the heroes come in, and it feels like they're there just to kind of protect the dragon, not necessarily like decimate all of the. Like, I thought they got away with like 2/3 of their ships.
Well, I don't know how much. That's a good point. I don't know how many they get away with, but Hawkwing literally says, "We'll drive these fuckers into the sea for you." So maybe they get them into the sea, and then they go,
like, well,
job done. You know, like,
look, they have ships. They're not coming back. Right?
You just took down just that one to send a message.
Yeah, it was like, don't come back.
Get all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
how do we feel?
Don't you have a couple more arrows?
How do we feel about her with a retreating enemy? And she's like, "Well, I'm going to blow your boat out of the fucking
wall." Yeah, that's quite bad sportsmanship.
It is super unheroic.
Yeah. Also, what does it look like if, like, Hawkwing, who's, by the way, these ancestors these are, just also gallops out and tries to, like, you know, Monty Python almost a castle for each one of these like ships that are just riding out. He's just following each one out to walk, like, you know, miles out into the sea. I think it would look a little weird.
I never thought of that.
They don't have photographs, so they don't know what Hawkwing looks like.
I think Hawkwing walks into that battle with his sword and is cutting people down, and it's just like, I'm related to you and you and you and you.
We'll send these invaders. Wait, they're my army? All right, I guess I'll do it. You have the banner.
All right, so what you got next for us, man?
Shan-Chan flees, so does Bail Doman. Brigitte burns a boat. Min finds Rand and assesses the damage to his body, which is extensive. I wrote, she drags his ass inside and warms his body with her own.
Jonathan Lanfear. Lanfear. Come on, Lanfear is the most important part of this chapter.
Really? Because I thought it was interesting that she said she liked older men.
Yeah, that's important. later on.
Well, right before Lanfear does come in, though, to Tom's point of this being a high-trafficked bedroom, Egwene comes in.
She pulls him into a random house, lays in bed in a random room, and Egwene's like, "Hey, what's up?" And then 5 seconds later, Lanfear's like, "I'm here too."
It is a little weird. Well, so Egwene says that she felt and Elaine felt, as well as Min, because obviously Min found him first, but like they all felt the pull to go to him, which is interesting because Egwene is not the third woman; it's Avienda. So that was kind of an interesting point.
It's proof that Min is better than Elaine because Min feels the pull the strongest and finds him first.
Is that what it is? Well, I'll listen to any argument that says Elaine is less than.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, technically the dragon is one with the land, so you could say that the dragon can pull anyone towards him in that way and influence anyone to come to him. So maybe
he chose Min first.
It's the better choice.
Also, I think that kind of speaks to like who Egwene is to him in this current moment in time. Like, kind of, like he's still, I don't know, pseudo in love with her, sort of, like not, I think they both kind of mentally moved on, but maybe they're just still like sort of, the emotions are still there a little bit. Like Egwene sees him as a brother, I think, at this point.
They went to prom together, so they always get married.
It's just like, oh, it's my old girlfriend. I love her, sort of. Not in that way, but kind of, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, Lanfear comes in, which is, to Matt's point, which is fucked up.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful spot. It's quite like this bitch looking at you saying, "Thanks for taking care of this dick. I will have him."
I mean, Tom said 10 years ago, and I'm reiterating, how the fuck did she not murder Min right then and there? It's insane. Look after him for me.
Insanely jealous.
Maybe complete lack of threat level from Min. Like
maybe the angst about him sleeping with Avienda from Lanfear's point was that Avienda looked more like Elena versus Min did not.
Oh, I like that.
So she saw Avienda more as like someone from her past that she hated.
Avienda sun hair.
Yeah, and then you have Min, who's more like, oh, I don't know, this chick doesn't have anything on me. I'm not
wearing boys' clothes.
Yeah.
Wait, all
right, so here's the flaw in this, Matt. She says, "Which one of you bitches is Avienda?" kind of thing. So she doesn't even know what Avienda looks like.
Okay, that's true. Okay.
But she is ideal, and they all look the same.
They all look the same.
All right, never mind.
That's racist.
Which one of you is Avienda? Because I need to kill that redhead.
It's one of you. I know it's one of you.
There's some interesting parallelism, by the way, here with Rand's first bang with Avienda, where cold body, everyone technically is just warming each other. It's a very kind of, we've done some gender fluidity here between that scene and the other, but it's pretty much the same idea. It goes from a rather innocuous, just trying to warm you up, to a how about we fuck kind of thing.
I just realized when you said that, so that's Rand's move.
Yeah.
I'm really cold.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, yeah, exactly. This is Rand's move.
It's the equivalent of putting your arm around, yawning and putting your arm around a girl. It's like, I'm really cold. Come warm my body with your body.
We don't have heat indoors.
Oh
yeah, that's a good point. That's what an interesting point that Jordan had her freak out 3 books later, and I guess that what it requires is to understand why Jordan would have those different reactions, and it probably has something to do with just how Rand interacts with her maybe over the next, and she starts to lose this belief that she can win him over, and then
that's very possible.
She's either,
if I can't have him, no one can have him, kind of thing.
I think she either doesn't care unless there's actual penetration, or she wants to take his virginity.
It could be.
I as much as Tom's point is hilarious, I'm gonna go with what Matt was saying. I think that is a good point. I think it's more like she's not threatened by her at this point in time, because she's just like, I've got him wrapped around my fucking finger. Like, I know when I come back, he's gonna be like, you're the fucking best, Celine.
Yeah. Like, remember right now in his dreams, like, he may have weird dreams about people, but he's done nothing. There's nothing like concrete that she was worried about until like later on. All of a sudden, then she's like, "What the fuck is this about?" And starts like, "Is this what you're dreaming about? Is this what you're thinking about?"
Yeah, that's true. She sees him in his dreams a couple of times, and they're like skinny dipping in the fucking pond or something, and she's like, "What the fuck is this bitch, Rand?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know."
Also, to be fair, she should have all the confidence in the world. She's the hottest woman that ever lived.
I agree, and she does. Yeah,
and she can walk into his dreams. Like, Jesus Christ.
So one thing we barely touched on, does she heal him? Does she help him, or fuck him over? Does she do something to the wound in his side? Or is it just Ishmael?
It's Ishmael
spear of dark taint stabbing him that makes that wound fucked up? Because she does a weird symbol on his head that Min thinks is the dragon fang, and like she does something. Maybe she doesn't do anything. Who knows? But like, it's what do you think? What do you think's going on there?
This is what Jordan said. He said, "What did Lanfear do to Rand at the end of the Great Hunt?" Someone asked him back in the day. He said, "She drew the dragon fang on his forehead for exactly the reason you think."
What's the wait?
Interesting.
Can you
yeah, exactly?
Can you go back and ask him what's the reason I think?
For exactly the reason you think. Yes, so she does draw the dragon fang on his forehead, and it could be a mark of some sort. I think it's more of a mark than it is that maybe she leaves on him, versus something that is affecting his wound or anything like that.
Yeah, I've always assumed Nynaeve did a little bit.
So Nynaeve swears up and down she does nothing because she can't channel at that point. Varen attempts to heal him and shittily does a healing on him. But is it because she's already tried to heal him and wasn't powerful enough to do it the right way in the first fucking place, and therefore, or maybe is it just because it's like he literally was stabbed with like a spear made of the Dark One's taint, so like
the latter.
Who the fuck knows what that means?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's always been the latter, and that's why.
Yeah, I'm there with you on that one. That's fine. That's a very plausible explanation. It's just bizarre that Lanfear comes in and goes like, "I'm not doing anything. I'm just tracing a circle on his head," and you're like, "That's it? That's weird."
And then she's out,
Yeah, and then all right, watch out for me. See you later. You're like,
wow. Just the equivalent of paint on him.
Is that it?
She's marking her territory. Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's wrap this shit up. Chapter 49, What Was Meant to Be. It's a Rand perspective, and it's been 5 days?
Yep, 5 days east of Falm.
Yeah. I guess, all right, so Rand wakes up. I guess I'm calling it the Camp of the Dragon because that's what they call it in the third book. He basically finds out he's been revealed to the world, and everyone's just like, "Oh my God, you're Jesus."
Pretty much, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much like the whole chapter is like Rand waking up to his biggest nightmare, which is now everyone knows.
Like, who knows about this? They're like, fucking everybody.
I love how he adorably is like, "Where'd you get that drawing? Burn it!" And she's like, "There's 1,000 of these." Like,
burn them too.
This is just one of them.
Where are my friends that I saved? They left.
Should I also burn all the humans that saw it? Because I have to do that too. It's kind of funny. It's kind of adorably naive.
Yeah, it's this one. Again, it's that moment where he's already become the dragon, but it's the realization from his part, from his point of view versus the realization from Min's point of view versus the realization from Lanfear's. You know what I mean? Like we get the Rand coming to grips with it and the book ending. I think it is it's a good kind of, cliffhanger of Rand now has no choice but to be the dragon, which is.
Yeah, he's quote unquote made his choice. Yeah.
Yeah, the choice has been made all because Matt blew the damn horn. Matt blew the horn, and then Rand can't hide.
Hilariously, like 5-6 chapters earlier, Matt went through a portal stone and told Rand over and over again that he would never give him away, and he did.
I will never give you away unless I blow the horn. I bet later.
I will never give yourself away.
It's just a small caveat I want to put on the end of there. It's fucking amazing.
That's hilarious. Never thought about that. That's funny. But yeah, there's nothing else I think that really stands out in that one.
Yeah, there's nothing that really stands out. There's just little story beats. Just there. Oh, there's 2 that you find out that now 3 of the 7 seals are broken. Maximus a zealot.
I love the fact that there's really no.
He's been branded twice. Like, we didn't know that already, but
Yeah, and his sword's broken. Like, his melted in half. We saw that last chapter.
Yeah,
he's got the new heron branded in his hand. That was there last chapter. But there's really so we also find that there's 2 new broken seals. There's the one from the Eye of the World. There's the one that Turok had, and there's the one that Doman had. There's really not. At this point, Moraine could have brought some just broken pottery and pretended, and she would just
yeah, exactly.
It really doesn't do much.
It wouldn't shock me that she would do that.
Yeah.
You need a little stronger nudge in the direction that I want you to go in. Here's some broken pottery that I just made. That's where I've been. I was making pottery.
Do you ever wonder how many people burned a heron into their palm so they could say they were the dragon? Why is that?
That is interesting. It's kind of interesting that was such a huge part of these couple of books. It kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, Matt, where like the first couple of books, it's a little more loose, and me and Tom kind of joked about maybe he had like certain things that he was going along, like back when these books were a trilogy. Like maybe he had certain things in mind of like, this is what will happen and he'll be the dragon. And then later on it was like, now it's 8 books and I have to go like, all right, we'll have dragon tattoos, like kind of thing. Let's there's more steps to him becoming a dragon.
So like the dude gets tattooed and branded a lot, and it's such a weird thing because anyone could brand themselves and anyone could tattoo themselves.
Yeah, it's also funny that Couladin's the only one that marks himself with the
dragon.
Tattoos.
Even known as
but I guess that's kind of an Aiel thing. Like they don't know about that on this side of the dragon wall kind of thing. Like that's kind of.
But
like if you're a false dragon and you're proclaiming yourself the dragon, you're just like, I can channel, I'm the dragon, and you're like, any scholar would be like, well, are your hands marked? Do you have dragon tattoos? No, get out of here.
But they don't know what a dragon is. Like on the other side.
That's the point. Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, but so you'd think there would be people who would at least put a fucking couple herons on their hands and just be like, well, look what I can do.
Well, I mean, maybe that's just a subtle way
marked on the hand.
That's true.
They could have got face tattoos like Mike Tyson or something.
That's true.
Maybe it's also a subtle way that the Aes Sedai know it's not the real dragon. Like that's how they know it's a false dragon, because they're like, you're not marked properly. You can channel, and we fought you and we stopped you, but like they investigate each person and they're like, never mind, you're not marked properly.
Show me the herons.
You don't have parents. You're just Tom's nephew. We're gonna murder you now.
Yeah, you're just Tom's nephew.
There's a whole business. There's a whole body branding people with herons. How much were people charging in Tar Milan? They were like just whatever. It's like I wonder how much it was to get like 2 herons.
Just street hawkers like heron brands. Get them over here.
Or the Aes Sedai are just like, we're going to use you as a false dragon. So here's step 1. They're like, what? I didn't sign up for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be your false dragon. I'm not going to get branded. Pass.
Strong pass.
Exactly.
Anything else this chapter?
No. Honestly, you can say that's tWoTcast at any time.
Wait, there's a chapter 50.
Yeah, chapter 50 is the story spreads.
Well, hold on. The recap says some bullshit prophecy. All right, so now we've done.
I do kind of like how classic Jordan just kind of does like the whole like, no, it was 100 people. No, it was 1,000 Shrinarians. Thousands of Shrinarians. Like that whole like the way that stories spin out from like this one event. It's kind of fucking awesome. It's the thing that we all love about this book series, and we keep coming back to read it. But like that end chapter, although kind of silly and real quick, is kind of fucking amazing.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea that, I feel like this one ends in that way much better than the first one does.
I agree.
This is like this is the end of the beginning of the Wheel of Time for me. Like, Eye of the World is kind of a cool ending, and it's like, oh, this is amazing, but what happens next? This is really where it does feel like there's like.
Holy shit, where is this going? Yeah, kind of. Right. Yeah, I know.
Where it feels like the third book of the trilogy is going to be like massive.
Yeah. I think Eye of the World does a good job of saying, like, just Moraine saying the dragon is reborn, like, in a sentence is this moment, but this moment is so much more than that. Yeah.
I think that's the best argument for Matt's idea of maybe moving this finale around or retooling it or moving it somewhere, is that it wasn't supposed to be 14 books after this. This is huge.
Yeah. Like this feels like the end of 2 books in a 6-book series. You know what I mean? Like, and he thought about doing a 6-book series at times, and it would make sense that I think he could, like, if you think about everything that happens between now and the end versus, like, say, if he only had 4 more books here, it would have to be like a really concise story, but I feel like he could have done it. In other words, like, there's a lot of time where people are just traveling places and they're not really becoming much more than they were before. So yeah, it's
that goes back to the point of, like,
the first half of this.
Are we having 14 seasons of a book? Like, of course not. Like, they're going to truncate a lot of that middle shit down to a manageable degree. So moving stuff from this book into the next one, or like, you know, that all makes sense to me. Like, if you're writing for the audience of a television show as a new audience and not like in terms of you've read this book 1,000 times, where are you putting these events along the way? Like, you don't necessarily want the Heroes of the Horn to come out now, because that's kind of kills
it's
awesomeness of them coming in the end, you know, kind of thing.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, if we get let's say we get this at the end of a season 2 or something like that of the show, and they only have let's say, I mean, I want them to have 10 seasons or something, but let's say they only have 7 or 8.
6, 7.
Yeah, if we get 7 seasons and we get the heroes in season 2 and then we get them again in season 7, again, that's where it's weird for TV for me. For the book, it's fine because you go like 10 books, 12 books, whatever, you know. So
yeah, it's almost like if he does blow the horn, then that's when it should get stolen. And we should be worried about them getting it back in time for the last battle, instead of like, it's stolen in book 2, they get it back, he blows the horn, and then they're like, and now we'll just put it over here to the side, totally safe.
Yeah, we got it right over here. No, don't worry about the horn.
Yeah, this is not a bad idea. Is like, you know, although that technically, I mean, we just fucking finished. We blow it once, then it's stolen again. It's kind of a bit of a, you know, plot delay almost. Like, all right, we just fucking did that. But it's not the worst idea, with the idea that it's tied to Matt, and it also kind of takes away the ability to have that weird ringer of the.
Let's just rewrite the whole series.
Yeah, you know what?
What if they found when they found the horn at the beginning of the Eye of the World, they do that, which is they found the horn, Matt blows it, it's related to Tarwin's Gap. If the battle there happens in Tarwin's Gap and the horn and the heroes show up, you have the banner, you have the dragon, and then the horn is stolen. You could do that. What I mean is you could have...
Actually, I kind of like that, because in that moment they're fighting Trollocs, and it makes a lot more sense, you know, in terms of like when the heroes are there. I kind of like that.
This is the hardest troll I've ever heard for Wheel of Time fans, and I can't wait for it to get out there.
You've never been so angry. I keep on going the board. Oh, God. Look, so this hashtag Let Barney Blow still works here. Let Barney Blow, it's just Let Barney Blow in the Eye of the World.
Yeah, there you go.
We're going to call that a day. So that's tWoTcast this week. If you have any comments or questions, the best way to find us is on Twitter at tWoTcast.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts. You can email us tWoTcast@gmail.com.
You can join us in... God damn it.
Don't say it, Tom. Just go to Patreon.
We're on Patreon way more often than we used to be at patreon.com/tWoTcast. If you enjoy the show, help us out and give us all of your money. Change the script from some to all. And enjoy exclusive content only on Patreon.
tWoTcast theme songs brought to you by Taffy Bennington at Sing with Taffy on Twitter and Anarchy 101 on YouTube. Also, we have a second song from everyone's favorite musician on hashtag Twitter of Time, Androl at Androl Genhold on Twitter and Androl Bard of Time on YouTube. Both of those songs have been played on this episode. In what order, I don't remember, because I haven't made the
we drink a lot.
Androl's the best, man.
Yeah, he's great. Also, so was Taffy. Matt.
Sorry. Taffy hasn't written an intro for my show yet.
Oh, sorry. Let me get her on that.
Yeah, we can get that done next week.
Thank you to our guest, Matt Hatch of the Dusty Wheel. Innkeeper Hatch.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, man.
Do you have plugs for anyone that might actually not know them?
Oh, yeah. You can find me at the Dusty Wheel on YouTube. We're a weekly live call-in talk show all about the Wheel of Time. We cover deep dives. We do interviews. We do all sorts of whatever it takes to just keep talking about the Wheel of Time. And we cover the news for Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime. So, yeah, you can find us there. Just look up the Dusty Wheel, and you'll find me, the innkeeper, and my guests there every week on Wednesdays and some Sundays.
I can't imagine that someone that listens to our show doesn't know who you are, but I guess that is possible.
Yeah.
That being said, Matt, what do you have in store for next year? This episode is going to come out on the 1st.
This is coming on the 1st.
January?
Yeah.
So next up, after you hear this, you can see us talking at the Dusty Wheel on the 10th of January. And we're going to be talking about foreshadowing in the Eye of the World. We're going to be breaking down the Eye of the World and finding every instance of foreshadowing and discussing it with my panel. So yeah,
an 8-hour show.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you have big plans for next year when the show theoretically is going to be seen by everyone? Then, like, what do you?
Yeah, the Dusty Wheel is a live call and talk show, so we're going to be doing an after show for hopefully what is weekly released episodes. We're going to go live immediately at the.
I think it will be at this point. I know that was a big question before, but now like The Boys is week to week, and like other Amazon shows are week to week. I think it's going to be week to week.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. You can expect this to be an after show where you can call in, talk to us. We'll be breaking down every episode, just like I'm sure every other content creator out there will be
probably.
We'll be doing it live as an after show. We can't wait. I can't wait for the episode, be watching it, and the moment after it's done to just go live and chat with fans about what we see.
So the problem with your show is that you guys bring in air professionalism. Tell us how you deal with that. I'm kidding. Don't.
It's just me, my neuroses of having to not sound stupid in the front of a live camera. So I don't get to edit anything. So
that's like. Actually, don't. Again, don't tell us what that's like.
We should have done this at the intro of the show, but Matt, tell us about your preparation. No, I'm kidding.
There's no editing, which is actually a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing and a bad thing. No editing you just can't change anything, and you just got to leave it up there.
Yeah, we don't have that problem.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
For us, it's a blessing because I get to leave out all the horrible things Jono says.
Yeah, there's a lot that gets edited out. Join us next year for our reread of the Wheel of Time Book 3, The Dragon Reborn, and hopefully some actual Wheel of Time episodes. San Diego translates to Wales. I still read it.
I'm so disappointed that you actually caught it. I wanted you to just do it all the way through. We tried to Ron Burgundy Jono, apparently.
I'm John. Do Joe.
Keep the change, you filthy animals.
Tom.
Still your math.
Thank you all. And thank you.
I think he said thank you, Matt.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that. Good night, and thank you for having me.
Among the first to start, the tWoTcast was so smart to lovingly bash our favorite books. But that was long ago, and now they've grown the show, and now they got us in their hooks. Don't throw coins to these bastards, they need bars of gold at least. Someone please keep them afloat. Now let's listen as they once again ramble through a book. Let's get the fucking quote. One of them is Tom, but he is barely on. Sometimes he calls into the show. Another one is Jono. Is he their joker? Oh no. And Joe, is he the stupid one? Welcome to the tWoTcast. We will share our love for books and all our hate in every episode. We'll entertain you, make you laugh so hard you barely can stand up. That is the tWoTcast code.